Hey, so what is going on, everyone? It is me, Mr. Mario. Now, if you're going to continue with this video, one, I'm just going to tell you, you're not going to see much else aside from my computer and maybe my hands moving around and all that. So if you're expecting some type of action-packed video, I'm sorry, this isn't going to be it. Number two, whenever I do PC-type videos, a lot of people start posting up their builds or asking for build help, things like that. I can't do it just because, one, my opinion is going to differ from so many others, and two, there's just way too many people out there for me to, offer help to every single person. So I'm going to recommend two things. Number one, Google.com. The links are going to be down below in the description. Look up stuff on Google. It's great. Number two, Build a PC. The subreddit Build a PC is great for, anybody asking questions, anything like that. Number three, third one is going to be PC Part Picker. They have a ton of builds there. You can get help. You can kind of pick and choose what you want. It's super easy, and there's also a compatibility filter. So those three resources, they're all going to be down below in the description. Anyways, let's continue on with this video. Oh, before we do that, though, we have to start some drama in the comments section. AMD sucks. All right, let's start this. Hey, so what is going on, everyone? It is me, Mr. Mario, and as you can see right here, this is my rig, my PC, my main computer, my personal computer, whatever you want to call it, this is it. And this isn't going to be too much of an action-y video. You're just going to see the PC here, the components, my hands, a bit like that. That's really about it. Now, this is probably going to be a bit lengthy, probably 10-15 minutes or so. I'm going to try and keep it as short as I can because I'm going to be talking about, the history of this computer. And the reason why I'm doing this video, it might seem a bit random. Well, one, I kind of wanted to do it because I was able to open it up. I cleaned it. Anybody who has a computer, I'd always recommend cleaning it. Actually, you could go to Walmart. What I used to clean it, I went to Walmart and I got a small air compressor, like the smallest one they had, for like $30 or $35. And you might not want to do that, but when you see that cans of compressed air are like $5 or $6 a piece, trust me, it's going to save you so much money, and all it does is take up electricity, which you're going to use in the first place, so you're not even going to use it that often. But anyways, the reason why I'm doing this video is because a lot of people before have asked me to talk about my computer. They've been interested in my computer, and I really don't touch up on it too much. You all just know, I do some PC gaming, not too much. I game more on consoles, honestly. And I use this computer to make almost all of my videos, like 98% of my videos probably. So they are probably filtered through here at one point. And this is just my whole main station here. So anyways, let's go ahead and get into it. Well, this computer, probably coming up this March or April, I want to say April just to be safe, will be about 3 years old. Originally, I was not the one who built this computer. This computer was built by someone else who I randomly met off Craigslist. And I met them because they were selling this computer right here. Now, essentially what happened was they got a really nice tax return. They decided to go down to Micro Center, buy all these components for a computer, build up a computer, and then they didn't have any money a few months later, so they had to get rid of it. So originally, I bought this computer. The only other things, I got the BIOSTAR motherboard, the Antec Kuhler 620, which is a liquid cooling system for a i5 2500K. Gotta silence my phone for this, excuse me. Anyways, as I said, liquid cooling system for an i5 2500K, which, by the way, these things, they are no maintenance. You hook it up, you keep it clean, you run it until it dries out, and then you can get another one. And they're supposed to last for about 5 years. That's the estimated thing. Anyways, Intel i5 2500K, love that processor so much. The PSU right here, so the power supply, it's a 550 watt Fatality power supply right there, and then it didn't come with any drives or any memory, anything like that, but it does come with a red cathode right here and another one right here, which are pretty cool because the side panel for the case actually has a see-through window, so everything lights up. There's also a little LED thing right here that shows the temperature. I put it in Fahrenheit because, Americans are stupid. And then there's also a fan right here, so there's an intake fan that has red LEDs, and a outtake fan right here that also has red LEDs. So this thing is Papa Demon. For people who have seen my laptop unboxing and the videos about my laptop, I got a I got a nice, decent Lenovo laptop, and it's red, has red LEDs, all this stuff, and I call it the mini demon because this is the main demon. So this is Papa Demon right here that you all are looking at. But anyways, that's all that it came with. And originally the ad said that it came with, like, I want to say a Radeon HD 6850, which I actually wanted because with the original 6850s, you could actually reflash them and pretty much upgrade them for free from a 6850 to a 6870 and get some extra shaders and some extra features for no cost. But then later on, in later revisions of the hardware, they did patch that so you couldn't cross-flash them. But apparently this guy was not good with finances, honestly, because by the time I got to the computer had been up for like a month and a half on Craigslist, something like that. And he told me, oh yeah, it's actually going to come with a NVIDIA GTX 460 because I had traded off the 6850. I think he traded off the 6850 for this 460 and some money so he could buy Diablo 3, because it's like right after Diablo 3 came out. And it also had a DVD burner and a solid state drive, originally like a 64 gig solid state drive, but I didn't want either of those, so it cut the price down a decent amount. So I paid like $600, and then I had two 360s that I barely paid anything for, and I traded him off with those because he was a bigger Craigslister than I was. So I'm just like, yeah, you know what, you could sell these for more. And I didn't feel like selling them. But as I said, I really didn't pay that much for them to begin with, so it worked out pretty well. It was like $600 and some change, honestly, for that. So what have I done over the years? Well, first off, the drives right here, which I will show you all. I used to have and it was funny enough because I was going to put in a cross-flashed, what was it, was it LG or no, a Lite-On drive so I could burn, you know, my 360 backups properly and everything. And he actually had one already in there, but I already had a few drives, so I didn't need one. But I ended up putting in my own DVD drive, and then I ended up buying a Blu-ray burner, an LG Blu-ray burner for like less than $100, honestly. I think it was like $60, $70, something like that. And then I originally had a 1 terabyte Caviar black drive that I had bought separately about a month or two before because I was planning on buying my friend's old Alienware computer. The thing is, though, he did something and I tried repairing it so many times and I couldn't get it to work. I really couldn't get it to work, so it was a lost cause. I gave it back to him, whatever. But I used the 1 terabyte drive as my boot drive. Now, the reason why I didn't want the solid state drive was at the time, this is back in 2012, there were a lot of people saying, you know, solid state drives, they aren't that reliable, they could die easily, they have write cycles, things like that, so they're not as reliable and they'll die a lot faster than hard drives. It was only 64 gigs from what I remember, and I remember he even told me, he's like, yeah, well, see, the solid state drive's not working anymore. Then, like the day before we were gonna do the exchange, he's like, oh, hey, so, funny thing, the solid state drive actually works now. Do you still want it or not? And I was just like, no, just, I really don't want to touch used flash memory, especially since you said it stopped working and now it's working again. Apparently he said what the story was he was playing Diablo 3 and he was recording in Fraps, and then Fraps took up like all of the storage capacity of the solid state, and his computer just shut down, and then he couldn't get the solid state to work. But with a story like that, I'm like, I'm not buying your memory, I'm sorry. So what ended up happening was, over the years, I've done a few upgrades to it. Well, the GTX 460 I originally had, it started crapping out. The thing is, this guy was a smoker, and he was not the original owner of it. He had traded it from someone else who might have been a smoker, I have no idea, but it got a lot of abuse. So the thing would blue screen my computer sometimes on boot, and sometimes it would artifact my computer, which artifacting, in case you, I'll try and put up a picture if I can, because honestly, one of the most terrifying things I've ever seen was a blue screen of death on boot, heavily artifacted. I saw that with this computer. I'm gonna put the picture up here, I have to remember that. And if I forget, I'm gonna put it down below in the description. But what ended up happening was the 460, it was becoming unreliable, but I used it for a bit. But I noticed when it warmed up a little bit, it was fine. Just kind of like a failing 360 or failing, you know, Xbox or another system, anything like that. So what ended up happening, just going to move the mic here, what ended up happening was the thing was just becoming less and less reliable. Like sometimes I would just have to restart the computer and it would work fine. But it got to the point, it was Black Friday of 2012. I ended up, I was looking for a new graphics card. Now the problem was I wasn't making as much money at the time, and I didn't have, you know, as much cash to spend. So I ended up spending like $200. I got a Radeon HD 7850, which was definitely an upgrade from the GTX. the 460. The problem was I kind of learned the hard way. I really didn't like Radeon too much. Some people told me to avoid them, and I was like, well, I really need a new graphics card. This one seems to do what I need it to do, and it's right in my price range that I'm willing to spend. Any other GTX cards I wanted, they were a lot more expensive than what I wanted to pay. I probably should have just spent the extra $100, $150, gotten a GTX card, but whatever. You know, I still have a good card here anyways. Anyways, that card I didn't have issues with. The problem was, it was sturdy enough, but it didn't do exactly what I needed it to do. Like, it just was not powerful enough for what I was wanting to do. And I'm not a big overclocker or anything, but I kind of started a little bit. I actually, a few months ago, earlier, I want to say, yeah, about 6 months ago or something, I overclocked my CPU. It normally runs at 3.3 gigahertz, and I've overclocked it to 4.0 gigahertz. I didn't change the voltage or anything like that, and it seems to be working just fine, especially with the liquid cooling right here. And then the graphics card itself, I ended up, it was around March or April of 2014, because that was after Titanfall came out. It was not performing like I wanted it to. I needed something more powerful, and I was tired of Radeon at this point. I wanted to go back to NVIDIA, so I ended up picking up a EVGA GeForce GTX 760 Superclocked edition, installed it in here, and I haven't had any issues with it. It's not the most powerful card out there, but you know what? It gets the job done for me, and I enjoy it. While as the Radeon collected dust for quite a few months, until recently, a few months ago, a friend of mine knew somebody who's looking for a new card, so I sold it to him for a decent price and, you know, got rid of it that way. So that all worked out. The hard drive here, I ended up at one point, because I had the 1 terabyte for the longest time, and I still do somewhere, but I doubled it to a 2 terabyte, but before that, I started getting into solid states. At one point, I decided to invest in a solid-state drive. I was running only Windows 7 at this time, and this is still in 2012, but I picked up this caddy right here, which I didn't even need at the beginning, because there's actually a little place right here which you can put a solid-state drive and just screw it underneath the case. But you know, later on I end up getting 2 solid-state drives, so it's all good. It worked out. I got this caddy that holds 2 solid-state drives, and it just goes into a 3.5-inch hard drive bay right here, like what you see. And I got a 120 gigabyte SanDisk Ultra solid-state drive. I wiped everything. I used the 1 terabyte for the time being as my storage, the 120 solid-state drive as my boot drive for Windows 7 and my programs, and it was great. Ever since then, I've installed solid states and everything. The only actual like computer or anything I have in my possession that I don't have a solid state in is my main laptop now, which that one has a hybrid drive, which it's just a hard drive with a solid state cache in there. But everything else, my work computer, my parents' computer, this computer, my old laptop, everything has solid state drives. So I'm solid state all around, and I haven't had any die yet, so thankfully none will die for a while at least. What ended up happening though, one point in 2014, I want to say it was either 2013 or 2014, I want to say it was early 2014, I bought a second solid state drive, a 128 gigabyte Kingston drive, because I wanted to try out Windows 8. Now, Windows 8 is kind of finicky on this whole thing, and I really think it's because of my motherboard. My motherboard doesn't play super nicely with Windows 8. I forgot about the RAM. I'm going to talk about that too. But what happened was I decided, you know what, I kind of want to plunge into Windows 8. I had tried imaging Windows 8 to an older hard drive I had. I didn't like it. I just went back to 7. But I said, you know, I'm going to force myself on Windows 8. So I got a second solid state drive. I installed it. I put Windows 8 on there. Then I upgraded it to Windows 8.1, and I'll be honest, I still didn't like it. Now, there's a few issues that I have. The main thing is the sound issue. Sometimes sound will just cut out on this thing, and I have to go in and disable it and re-enable it. Sometimes under Windows 8, my I/O board right here just doesn't start working until I restart the computer a few times, or I have to restart boot into Windows 7, restart boot into Windows 8, and it works again. So it's little things like that that just show me that this motherboard is not properly equipped for Windows 8. But you know what? Hey, it's all good. It could be a lot worse, really. But what ended up happening was, after I installed Classic Shell, I loved Windows 8. It's actually my main OS right now, but Windows 7 is still great. I still love both operating systems, but I use Windows 8.1 as my daily driver, really. So that's what I use on this computer right here. Now, the RAM as well. It originally had, I want to say, 8 gigabytes of Ripjaw RAM, And now let's see what type of RAM it has now, because I did double it. This motherboard actually maxes out at 32 gigs, but I really haven't had a need for 32 gigs. I now have, yeah, 16 gigabytes of G.skill Sniper RAM, and I believe it is running at 1866 speed, and it's DDR3. Now, the reason why I upgraded from 8 to 16 gigs of RAM was because, one, this RAM was actually faster, which I didn't even really consider the speed increase until I actually installed it and noticed how much better my computer was holding up. But two, because I was doing a lot of things, like, for example, I was working off solid state drive and I just disabled swap on there, it was getting to the point with all the videos I was doing, and because I was taking some intensive classes, like intensive computer classes, on a weekly basis, at least 2 times a week, my computer would run out of RAM. Like, literally, it would bring up a message that would say, you are running low on system memory, and it would get to the point where it was so slow, I would have to just restart the whole computer. So I went up to 16 gigs of RAM. Ever since I did that, it's been almost a year, never had an issue. It's been perfect, so I've loved it so far. It's been very nice. But yeah, 16 gigs, that's how it's been for me. I also have 16 gigs in my laptop as well, but that's all worked out superbly so far. So anyways, I really think that's all that I've covered on here. I covered the hard drive, the solid states, my disk drives, my GPU, CPU, the RAM, the motherboard. I mean, motherboards are, you know, nothing special, so meh. I guess if anything else, I was lacking USB 3.0 ports, which I'll talk about a little bit here. So what I did was I ended up buying like a 4-port USB 3.0 type device that you could just put in here, and it goes to your PCI port or your PCI Express, and that's it. It just adds 4 ports to USB 3, although it's weird because 3 of them are in the back, which is where I want them, and 1 of them is internal. So, like, I guess if I, like, permanently wanted a drive, like, hooked up there, cool. But, like, I would have to open up my case unless I wanted to, like, take off one of these little panels and slide it through, which I really don't want to do. But actually, I could do it. I could just slide it through here. That's not that big of a deal. Anyways, I'll go ahead and show you some other stuff on here real quick, too. Alright, so here you can see most of the case. This is just dusty and all that, but I just need to go in and clean that myself. Just kind of, you know, do the dirty work here. But as you can see, it's a CM Storm case. So CM Cooler Master Storm model. Just, you have a power button right here. You have your microphone, your stereo inputs, outputs, whatever it is. These things don't work very well. I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of this case. 1, I think it's too small. I would like a bigger case. 2, if I had a case with a handle, that'd be nice. And 3, I'm about to explain the I/O. I'm going to rant about this a little bit. So you open this up right here. A lot of friends like this feature. I actually have a Sony Optiarc drive, which burns off all my 360 games with ease. Still have the same LG Blu-ray burner, which I really don't use too often. And I have a little reset button right here, which I rarely use. Now, first off, as I said, the I/O ports right here. So for your microphone and your, you know, your headset, whatever you're going to use, these barely work. So I actually use just the ports in the back that are directly working with the motherboard. They are on the motherboard itself. And the nice thing is, with the sound system I actually have a little circular device that hooks into the back, and then I can run it to the front, so I can just control the volume right there, right under my monitor, which is really nice. Now, this is the most stupid setup for USB 3.0. I have 2 USB 3.0 ports, and they don't work. Do you know why? When USB 3.0 was first introduced, they did it a really stupid way. You see, they have 2 USB 2.0 ports. Now, normally what you do is these 2 USB 2.0 ports have a header, and, well, they have like a cable that has a header end on it. You connect that header end to a header on your motherboard. Same thing with USB 3.0, right? No. I'm going to show you something. For a while, motherboards did not have USB 3.0 headers. Because of that, cases did not integrate the wires into them. So what you had to do was you had these 2 USB 3.0 ports. And on the other side, you could get cables. You would run the cables through the case, and I'm going to have to flip the case around now. Anyways, now that we're at the back of the case, as I said, you'd have to run 2 cables from the front of the case to the back. And you see where, I don't even think I can get my, there we go. You see where my finger is right there? There's 3... Oh, darn, okay, these rubber things are coming off. I never mess with them, actually, so there, you know what, fine, it will just stay busted. But you would have to run them out, and then you'd have to run them, so there would be 2 cables. You run those 2 cables and hook them up to 2 USB 3.0 ports on the back of your motherboard. So in the end, you still have 2 USB 3.0 ports. It's not like you, because I have 2 of them right here on my motherboard, it's not like you go from 2 to 4. No, you go from 2 to 2. The only difference is you're forced to use them in the front instead of using them in the back. That is the most stupid design ever, and I'm so glad we moved away from it. It was just such a lazy, stupid design overall. I hated it. And because of this, as you can see, I only have 4 USB ports on the motherboard itself. I have 2 USB 2s, 2 USB 3s, and the 2 USB 2s in the front. Because I have a lot of devices running, I ended up getting this little PCI Express card right here, the PCI card, that adds on to the back 3 USB 3.0 ports, which have given me 0 issues. Now, aside from that, the rest of the stuff on here, I guess you have, you know, your PS2 setup for your keyboard, Ethernet, you have microphone, stereo, the blue one I never use honestly. Then if you want to use, you know, the integrated graphics on here, which I don't, you have options for HDMI, DVI, and VGA. While the same thing on my graphics card right here, I have 2 DVI ports, HDMI, and is that, no, I have 2 HDMI ports. Okay, for some reason I thought that was DisplayPort. So 2 DVIs, 2 HDMIs, and that's really about it. There's also this little card right here that I never removed, but this is for a, you know, a remote control, I guess. You could switch it off and on if you want to. I never had a use for it, honestly. I had the remote out for like 6 months next to my computer. I used it 0 times, so it was completely useless to me. Anyways, that is the end of this video. So without further ado, let's go ahead, close up the computer right here. Go ahead, close this thing up. There we go, and I'm just gonna have to screw the 2 things in on the side here. But before I do that, I kind of want to show you all some of the remnants of the previous owner and, you know, some of my own things. So there's actually a few stickers right here. So the original solid state drive was a OCZ drive, and there's a sticker right here that says my SSD is faster than your HDD. I thought that was entertaining. I never removed that, even when I was only rocking a hard drive on there. And, you know, then when I got a solid state and then another solid state, it worked out pretty well. And then, you know, they put on the Intel Core i5 sticker right here that you get with the CPU itself. And the SteelSeries thing right here, the previous owner was a big SteelSeries fan. In fact, he had like a whole SteelSeries like setup with it that he was going to sell with the computer too. It included what, like a keyboard and mouse, a mouse pad, headset, things like that, which, I mean, dude, this guy smoked. Like, it wasn't weed or anything, but like he smoked cigarettes, which in my opinion are even nastier. Because like, a true story with this, by the way. The first time I ever opened up this computer, I opened up the side panel on the other side and a live roach popped out. Like, cigarette smokers, you all are nasty. You all are nasty, okay? And for anybody that calls me a dick for just generalizing them, you have not seen the electronics I have opened from multiple cigarette smokers. That is some nasty stuff right there. But anyways, only thing I've added here is this G.skill sticker that I got, obviously, from when I upgraded my G.skill RAM compared to the Ripjaw series RAM I had. So that's about it. Anyways, hope you all enjoyed this video. For anybody that had been asking about my computer, this is my computer right here. It's definitely not the best computer out, definitely not the fastest one, but I love it. It gets the job done, it's reliable, and you know what? This is how I'm able to make videos for you all. Anyways, thank you for watching, everyone. I appreciate the viewership. I appreciate all the, you know, everything. I love you all. Anyways, this is Mr. Mario signing off. Thank you for watching, everyone.